It's live.
All right, good evening, everyone. We will call the meeting to order. Christy, will you take roll call, please?
John?
Here.
Melanie?
Here.
Jake?
Here.
Linda?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I approve the publication in front of me. Visitors' correspondence. Anyone desiring to speak on any item or issue not on the agenda or any item on the agenda that does not include a public hearing may do so, but shall be limited to 3 minutes. Person should identify themselves by name and address. Person speaking should not expect the council to engage in back and forth dialogue regarding their comments. Unless an agenda item includes a public hearing, no person may speak during the business portion of the meeting, provided however persons speaking during the public hearing are limited to between 5 and 20 minutes. The public is advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the council chambers. Please also note there was updates to the Open Meetings Act, and we do have a copy taped to the front until we get our bigger version of that. So the updated one is there. And one copy of all reproducible written material to be discussed at this meeting is available for examination or copying. For the agenda, we will be removing number 11. Mr. Smith was here already and discussed with Cameron, and they worked out a solution, so he no longer needs his request. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of number 11.
So moved.
Second. Vote, please. All in favor? All right, then on the consent agenda, we will be pulling item 7I out of the main consent agenda. On that one, since it's reappointing Crystal Lewis to the cemetery board, Jake would not be able to vote on that. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with everything except for item 7I.
Why are we removing 7I again?
It has to be separate because Jake cannot vote on that. So I'm doing the rest of the consent agenda separate so he can vote on that.
Okay. I do have a couple questions regarding some invoices. Well, the invoices are under the consent agenda. One of them
Are you
was,
moving to remove that? Do you have to vote to remove that first?
Yeah. Nope, we sure don't. We just have to make the consent agenda into 2 votes. So the first motion I'm entertaining is the consent agenda with all items except for 7I.
and then this is where I have questions. Okay, one thing that kind of jumped out at me was $1,539 for white HB epoxyline pool paint. With all the problems with the pool, why are we buying paint?
It's Tanner.
So we'll probably purchase before this last project. So, Tim's not here, but that's when it's-
Well, we'll probably,
It'll be returned.
yeah, so we'll get a credit back on that. Okay, that answers that question. Thank you.
I'm sure they were trying to be prepared.
Right, right. And Mayor Grove and City Administrator Cameron Gales, did you guys have any meetings or conferences out of town this last month? Well, because under invoices, it has loves for gas, and I understand maintenance, I understand police, and I understand the building inspector, but it also says mayor and city administrator.
That's the vehicle. So if anybody drives the Volt, which can be used by anyone, they need to put gas in it. So I don't.
So it falls under you two, though?
Yeah, it's technically the mayor and administrator's vehicle, so it goes into
Okay.
that budget. Yeah, so the car needs gas regardless of where
Right,
it's driven.
right.
So, yeah.
I went to a clerk's meeting.
Okay, yep, Christy drove it. So.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you for explaining that. And then I have one more question. The mulch for the park, is that around the playground equipment, around trees?
Tim is not here.
Well, I just have a question because we have this park renovation, wouldn't it come out of that budget? Or could you not use mulch up by the water treatment plant?
Yeah, so I know for a fact, so any mulch that needs to be rated for ADA and all of the things around the playground equipment has to be a certain kind of mulch. So I do know that for a fact. I don't have specifics. Tim can provide it. So they definitely cannot use that because it doesn't have the right
Okay.
rating. But phase one did not include any of the playground equipment. So every year they have to update the mulch and add what they need as the base layer for the playground equipment to make it safe. And so I'm assuming that's what was happening. We can certainly
Can you
ask
double
Tim.
check on that for me, please?
Yeah, and if you in the future send me ahead of time, we can ask Tim because without a public works director, we can't provide those answers on the spot right now. But that's what I would assume. I know why they cannot use the mulch out there. That is
If around the trees, I can't. I mean, we have a humongous pile of mulch out there.
we can certainly get that, the answer to that, but it
All right.
wouldn't have been anything in the new part of it. It would have been existing park movements.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I got some questions on the treasurer's report. That's okay. We can talk to Lori again. That's all right. And I have a few, so if you can't get an answer, I'm fine with. I can hang to this and follow up later. But I did see your email from the last request on the year-to-date budget for actual use, and I was going through that, and I just had a few that I had some questions on. If you could answer those. The computer software agreements, it was about $6,000 over budget.
In which department?
It would be, what I have is 100-10-10.
That would be room, building and zoning.
Sure.
So we use SmartGov to do all of our permitting software.
What is it?
SmartGov.
Okay.
And when we got SmartGov like 2.5-3 years ago, we actually adjusted our permit fees at a $25 fee to kind of cover that. Why it's over from last year compared to moving forward, I could dig into it and see what's getting something might have been either the wrong thing or I didn't put enough budget in it last year, depending. If it's just capturing SmartGov, I know what that fee is going to be. But if something else was added to it, there's a chance that someone else's software was added to it. Software for me specifically, it's SmartGov. It's Bluebeam, which is like a couple $100 a year, which is my PDF plan review software. And then that's
Because is 1010, is that like a 7-year department?
that's me.
Is it?
Yeah.
So the computer hardware.
Yeah.
Was 1,700 over.
Yeah. So Beth and I both got new laptops.
Okay.
At the time before Beth moved back full time with me a year ago, she was still split between the front office and my department.
Okay.
And then she was also slated. We were both slated to get new laptops this year. We were both up on hours. But now that she's 100% with me, I ate 100% of that cost.
Okay.
So that explains that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for 10-10.
Yeah.
So, for 10-11, what was that?
That's general office.
General office. The
And it's really hard for me to recall every ledger entry.
No, that's fair.
Like, that's why in the email I said if you have questions, please email me back so that I'm able to send you an actual activity list, a
Okay.
detailed activity list from the system, so that you can clearly see which companies were paid and when was put to that ledger number.
Okay. And I can send you an email with these as well. For the reimbursement expenses for like EAA and Valley Landing, are those the expenses that we will get paid back for?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct. So like when they're doing their sewer connection or water connection tap fees, like they put that money back in, that's money coming. We pay it upfront or they send us a check and it's a wash. There's a revenue account that washes any expense that comes in for that.
So if it's over, that's what we have.
There should be a revenue account that coincides
Okay.
for that. yes.
So for EA Prominence Club, that's 11,000
Mhm.
and 16,000 for the Valley Ranger.
Sure. And then, again, I don't recall.
No, that's right.
Mm.
And it says annual dues and subscriptions is $28,000 over on 10/11.
Again, I would have to pull a ledger detail report for that.
Okay.
I really wish that you would email me so that I was able to answer those questions when you send me the reports.
They're so I'll email you these two. I have questions on 20-31 as well for building repairs, maintenance, and diesel fuel. For 10,000 on building repairs, maintenance, diesel fuel, that was $6,800.
Public Works moved, and they did not budget enough for the repairs and items that had to happen over at the new building.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I got you. Sounds good. And
Yeah, email me that list so I can
yeah, thank you.
send you the actual spreadsheets from the computer system.
In last meeting on the BOK, I asked about the BOK payroll for the additional. That was in the additional invoices section of the April meeting. And is there a way that I could get like the receipt on that of the payment made, or less a coupon?
Payment, the wire transfer?
Yes.
You want to see the bank statement?
In the bond details, yes.
Okay.
For the streets and the park, I think. it was reported
Mhm.
for.
Correct.
So, and the last thing I got, I was wondering if I could get a detailed and or summary report. I'm not sure which, if Acupuncture could produce both. The audit logs for Acupuncture for the last about 6 months.
When you say audit logs,
The logging of logging in, who is logged in, who makes moves.
I don't know how to access that personally because I'm not like an administrator in that system as far as seeing who's logging in where and doing what.
So that would be for the.
I would have to probably reach out to Eileen, or Karen would have to reach out to Eileen at Acupuncture and see if that type of report is available within the system. I mean, I'm sure it probably is. It's just I have no way or no idea how to pull that type of a report.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that.
Yep.
I'll send you this email
That'd be great.
with those. So,
Okay.
thank you very much.
You bet.
Great questions. All right, any other questions? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 7I. Second, vote please. All in favor? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve 7I, which is reappointing Crystal Lewis to the cemetery board for term ending in 6/2028. Second, vote please. 3 in favor, 1 abstain. All right, number 8, library consideration and approval of request to close Second Street from Spruce Street to the Valley Public Library on July 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for the summer bike rodeo.
Good evening, Sammy Stewart, Library Director. Excuse me. We're just asking the council to consider approving closing Second Street right there next to the library from Spruce Street just to the library's little backyard fence so that we can rope that off for the kids to ride their bikes through there. We're working with DC West and Valley Police Department to put on a bike rodeo for the kids this summer. And with all the construction at DC West Elementary, we can't have it there, which is a bummer. But we were hoping just to be able to put a little obstacle course out there for the kids to practice safe bike riding skills. Everything else other than that obstacle course will all be either inside the library or in our backyard, so we just need a little bit of road space to make that work.
Entertain a motion to approve Sammy's request to close Second Street from Spruce Street to the Valley Public Library on July 9th from 9 to 12. Vote please. All in favor?
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sammy. All right, number 9, Ginger Cove Common Area Company, Patricia O'Connor, consideration and approval of the following requests.
Hi, Patty O'Connor here, and just our annual request to have our closure. We have our fireworks show on the 3rd, so we have security. So we don't close the entrance, but we have security and they stop people. And that's on the 3rd. And then on the 4th, we have a short half-hour parade. So closing the street from the entrance to the playground.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Patty? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve both requests, which is closing the Ginger Cove entrance on July 3rd, 2025 from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. with a security company monitoring entrance. And then closing Ginger Cove Road from the Ginger Cove entrance to Peppermill Point on July 4th from 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. for an Independence Day parade.
So moved.
Second. Vote please. Thank you.
Thank you for all you do for our community.
Thank you. All right, number 10, Valley Shores HOA James Taylor, consideration and approval of closures.
Yeah, Derek O'Brien, Valley Shores Homeowners Association. I'm here to represent Jim. We're looking to do two closures. One's for the children's parade, the kiddie parade in our neighborhood. It goes from circle to circle on the west side of the neighborhood. And the second would be, we have our annual fireworks show on July 4th that evening, and looking to get approval to close from the entrance from Whitesmith all the way to Hurley Circle so nobody can travel through there while the show's going on.
Anybody have any questions for Derek? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to close 281st Street from Eagle Circle to Huron Circle on Friday, July 4th from 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the children's parade, and then close 281st Street from Huron Circle to 280th Street on July 4th from 9:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the fireworks display.
So moved.
Second, vote please. All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 12, Cornhusker State Games and Triathlon Air Closure announcement of Cornhusker State Games. Consideration and approval of race activities to be held Sunday, July 13th, 2025.
Good evening, council. My name's Eric Moser, 1827 East Bermuda Drive in Lincoln. Here to kind of notify and ask for approval of the 4th annual Cornhusker State Games Triathlon held at Mallard Landing. Swim bike run. It'll affect there'll be some short windows on that Sunday morning of road closures from 270th and Maple to 264th Maple, all the way to 264th Pacific, 252nd Pacific, and then basically big square back there. Historically, we've had it reopen 10:15. We're just asking until about 10:45 in the morning. That way, we make sure any stragglers get off the course safe and sound, and shortly reopen it to the public back then. Douglas County is involved as well as Valley PD, City Works, all the good stuff.
Anybody have any questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the Cornhusker State Games Triathlon on Sunday, July 13th, 2025.
So moved.
Second. I'm sorry, somebody second. Second. Vote please. All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, number 13, public hearing. Flatwater Lakes Estate LLC, Champion Shores, consideration of approval of preliminary plat. Is there someone here to review that?
Good evening, Rick Perry, City Engineer. Tonight we have the revised preliminary plat. This is a project that started, I believe, in 2021, so they can fact check me on the year. But this was formerly the Flatwater Estates project there on the south side of Highway 64, down the Valley Street, and then west of Valley Corp over to 288th Street. Basically, they've proposed a very similar layout of a lot configuration. They adjusted the lot sizes throughout the development. They have done a tweak to where the main entrance would not come off Highway 64, it would connect over to Ida Circle in that one location. And then also they still have residential units along Valley Street from basically Flatwater Phase 1 or 280th Street to close to 285th Street. So they do also have a rezoning request, which is basically the northeast corner, which was formerly the Lyman Ritchie concrete batch plant site. That would be currently it's zoned to the I-2, that would be down zoned to an R3 residential use. So this would be city water, city sewer, OPPD, electric, Black Hills gas. Let's see what else the comments I have since I'm kind of pitch hitting a little bit for them. They are going to make a TIF request, and they're being scheduled for tomorrow afternoon for some of the city staff to review that request. I guess I can probably just stop there globally and ask if there's any questions for me related to the project. So this is just a preliminary plat phase. Sorry, one more. Sorry. Preliminary plat. They are proposing it to be built into 2 phases, so it's kind of the north half and the south half globally. So there will be 2 projects, and then subsequently there would be a final plat that would come to city council. That would just be the first phase.
Is there, I was looking at the application, it says, is there any part of the land within the preliminary plot within floodplains? And I wasn't checked, yes or no. Is that normal? I'm not familiar with these.
I don't necessarily check anyone for them, but the whole project's within the floodplain, so we do require a floodplain development permit, so they're aware of that and are meeting those requirements. They have submitted a concept grading plan that actually shows that it is conforming to the floodplain regulations that we have.
So that's was it the hydrological and grade information? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that'd be some of that, yeah.
Some of it, or?
Well, I mean, basically, the preliminary plat stage is very high level, so then by the time it gets to a final plat, it'll get detailed in and there'll be an official report. So everything that comes in with the preliminary plat is basically all preliminary and or draft format, and then it moves towards a final design condition as the project will move forward.
Okay. And when I was looking through the attachments on the last part, it says the copies of the preliminary sanitary sewer plan and drainage study for the subdivision and the street profile plan with the statement of proposed street improvements. I just didn't see that in here to review.
I don't know what got put in the packet. There is a draft sanitary sewer layout plan for shows the gravity collection system. Also, they were looking at potentially 2 lift station sites. They did submit a draft drainage study that I reviewed and gave them some comments on globally. And then the third item was what, Jake? Sorry.
The street, there's a preliminary street profile plan.
Yeah,
the state proposed street improvements.
Sure, I do have a copy of the street profiles. Yep.
So you have all 3 of these?
Correct. Yes.
I guess I'd like to see them before I actually make a vote. That's just me.
I don't know who put the packet together and stuff, so I can't say that. I don't put the packet together, so I don't have to probably give them to you.
Do you know who puts the packets together? Who puts the packets together?
As far as what they submit to us?
What's on the in the packet for city council? That was Jake's question.
The sheet only can put on there what is provided to her to include, so. In this, I mean, we're happy to include anything else going forward or provide you anything. This is the standard process, so we went to where the different information than the normal process would be desired, so certainly do that in the future.
I have a question. Are you still going, Jake? Sorry.
No, sorry.
Just out of curiosity, with kind of the water main breaks and stuff we have, and this question is regarding new development. How much of a population can a current water infrastructure handle?
I would have to pull up the file. We've done some projections on the city, and also usually when a new development comes in, what the new population is and how it adds to that. I believe it'd be during the Flatwater project, I can recall. I think we're just over like a 50% type usage of what the peak demand of the water plant and stuff can handle from a supply standpoint.
Okay, because I'm just curious, like how close we were getting when we have Catalina, and then the other, and then this one, and then we have another one coming down. How close do you think we're getting?
That's before the treatment plant expansion, right?
Correct. So then basically then with the ongoing water treatment plant expansion, that will double the capacity to almost 5 million gallons a day. So
I do believe we had a water main that broke today.
yes, we did at 3rd and Spruce.
Okay, the problem is these water mains are breaking left and right. And I am a firm believer of common sense that we are putting too much pressure on it. So you do water conservation. We do all that. But adding more homes and more businesses or any development is not going to help. It's not going to help the problem. We got to fix our infrastructure before we keep doing developments.
Acknowledged. I think Linda, the other part is like the one that happened last week or 10 days ago on Miggs was potentially caused by another utility company. So
Right. But they're still breaking all over.
True.
Yeah,
And the weather is not the problem now, this time of year.
And we do have a report of what all of them are, because some of them are like Greg said, aren't the fault of the infrastructure. If another company bores their line into our water main, that's not the,
Yeah, I mean-
unfortunately.
My people service 207 Winter Street.
You stand for the microphone, please.
When we're talking about north of town, the age of the infrastructure is the issue. That's the age of it, right? So I do agree with you that does need to be replaced in time. There's also soil, there's also degrade of metal, cathodic protection. There's a lot of stuff that goes into just things breaking, right? There are certain parts of town that have different kind of soil that erode the pipes faster than others. So there's a little bit more to it than just things are breaking. We already know that the north side is bad, and we're trying to come up with plans and working with different entities to get that replaced, but we gotta find funding first. As far as adding new compared to what we already have, I don't know the finances in that, to the cost of us replacing what we need to replace here compared to adding new. I don't think those are the two. Personally, I don't compare the two together because they're two separate things. Does that make sense?
Adding new, you mean new development?
Yeah. Those are two separate things compared to adding new development. That's all new pipe, and that is the cost of the, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the cost of the developer. So that doesn't affect us to have the ability to repair what we got to repair.
I was just curious about it, because I had.
I'm not arguing with you.
No, you're
I think it needs to be replaced too.
Yeah, I'm just getting education, because I know a few folks that live in like one of our newest developments, which I would say is Blue Water,
Mhm.
and they have some top of line information in their home where the water pressure is like super low, and then all of a sudden it's like super high, and at a point that they could burst their pipes, and it's like just making sure that our capacity of what we're able to offer is there for additional development. That's all.
What you're talking about again is something different than that, right? That is demand. And help me out here if I'm going to be wrong here because I'm not as smart as him. But when you have a large demand that they put on the system every single morning, right? I mean, it's a large demand. A lot of water goes that way. Well, that puts stress on the system, no matter how much water we have. You are still pulling that much water that way. So we have a 12-inch line going out there. We have two 12-inch lines going out there. I mean, how much better can you get? You know, so it's just kind of pressure fluctuations are a problem for us because that's what happens when we have our discarded water is because of that. But it's also water conservation. There are some other things that apply to that. I mean, we're not the only town that has that problem this time of year. I mean, Omaha puts it on the news, Fremont puts it on the news. They all put it on the news that they automatically go into odd-even watering. That's automatic in those towns. So it isn't, this is normal for a water system to behave that way when such a large, unusual demand. Because when they rate communities for water usage on a demand of something, they don't put in sprinkler systems in that. They put in per capita, correct? In general, right? So that's not put into the equation because we don't know how much people are going to be using that. So in the equation for it, you can't put that in.
Is there, just to make sure, is there any way, even next council meeting, that there's any data that you can provide with, like what you said you looked at last time at Flatwater, that you can provide us for the next meeting? It's just good to keep on top of it.
And what are you asking for?
Just like kind of where our capacity is with what we have now and the amount of population it can carry, and then also what the new water system can offer. Okay, that's all.
Yes.
We did a study update to the 2020 preliminary engineering report in 23 that we can pull that out. That has a lot of this information. I think they collected for.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about Flatwater Lakes Estate preliminary plat?
There you go. There's one other topic that I think is important for some citizens and city council as well, is that this will have some trail improvements as well within development and also along Valley Street. So that is one other topic I did feel mentioned. So I just wanted to pass that along.
Any other questions for Greg?
I do have one other question. So that road, is it Valley View Street, that road is right through there? It's
Valley
Valley Street. Sorry. It's kind of thin, and I saw like the drawings of what they're trying to do. Like, do you think that is going to create a traffic issue down the road? Like, if kids are riding their bikes on there, and that was probably my biggest concern looking at the whole design.
Can you clarify what you mean by thin? Is it
Like,
narrow?
Yeah, it's narrow, sorry. And then I know they want to do like some of the multi-housing units on that side. And then on top of it, they want to create parking, so there's public access, and it's just, I feel like we're gonna create a bottleneck situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's an existing road is 24 feet wide, so it's narrower than some of the other streets in town. But it would compare to 288th as well. But then, like, I guess the trail portion I just talked about, is there going to be a shared use path along the side that's separated from the lanes to provide that pedestrian or other types of moving, walking, jogging, all those type of features off of the roadway for that segment, instead of having those commingled that if somebody uses it right now, those would happen. But then to follow up too with those driveways being on there is potentially we would look at a speed limit reduction request, if you will, as part of the development. I know we did it on Flatwater Phase 1 with the driveways, with more and more driveways being on there, is we would potentially extend the lower speed limit there as we move west.
And then Flatwater on the south side of that road has no intention of putting a sidewalk in, but there will be one on the north side. Is that accurate?
That's correct, yeah.
And then, one other thing I just want to confirm is that I understand Flatwater, you can have like motor, boat, stuff like that. But Champion Run has no intention of having any of that available. Is that true? I thought.
For sure, but I'm almost positive it will be a motorized boat lake.
Okay.
Yeah, full service, however you want to call it.
And then will the public access piece of that, will that just be
I believe,
an entrance only, or can you bring a kayak in there?
I believe there will be a public fishing pier for those type of amenities that you can access the lake, but not actually, like, I don't know if they were talking about swimming. I don't think I heard that either. I don't think they would actually, you get into the water, but you could access it like from a pier to fish or something like that. Is I think what the intention was. I think great question. We can get some more information on that portion of it. Again, like what I was telling to Mr. Lewis is we're kind of starting at preliminary plat 30,000. A lot of these details kind of really haven't been ironed out on the development side and conveyed to us.
So is there any commercial development in there? Why they're asking for a tip?
Right
So
now,
they're asking for a tip because of the public access?
yeah. Do you have that?
I wonder if there was a communication.
I don't know.
I
I would also comment that this is something we could lay over.
Yeah, I think it's,
Right.
with all the questions, yeah, maybe it should be laid over. I'm kind of surprised he's not here.
Yeah.
I think there was maybe a miscommunication or something, so my suggestion would be laid over, I agree.
Do you want to lay over the public hearing or have the public hearing?
I'd lay the whole thing over. There's enough questions, I think, that the council has if we want to start over again.
Can we do the public hearing just in case any of our constituents have questions that we can address when Brian's here?
I suppose you could continue the public hearing.
I would hate that someone came tonight and didn't speak.
Yeah, sure.
Anything else from me? I'll
So we can answer it without.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can note them.
All right, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak on the Flatwater Lakes Estate Champion Shores preliminary plat?
Roger Bennington, 304 Northwest Street. Excuse my voice. I have a big concern about having an open beach that's available to the public without any control. Police department's gonna have to control it, fire and rescue is gonna have to be available for it. We've got a sidewalk or a trail running from the north to the south of that development. From West Street out, there are no sidewalks. How are people gonna get there? Are you gonna force all the people that are on Valley Street to put sidewalks in to access that area? Guess we don't have any answers. question about how are they gonna get access to that trail? That's my main concern, that and the liability that's going to be created. We abut that property to the east.
Gina Standard, 28437 Laurel Circle out of Flatwater. And my questions are the same ones I pretty much asked the planning committee. And that was a lot of what Mr. Covington was talking about the access for the public. And my biggest concern, and a lot of Flatwater residents, are all of the row homes, the 13 fourplexes that are going to go along that West Valley with a very narrow road and a sidewalk that will most likely have cars spilling over onto the sidewalk from those driveways. It's a lake, and we always have lots spilling over, and that. So we asked for no parking on either side. We asked for speed limits to be reduced. We asked for a push button light, and it would be nice not to have those row houses. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to build that, especially when it's going to be a wake lake. It's going to have the wake boats and that, and it's going to be facing the north, so those wakes are going to just pound that shore. We already see it out of Flatwater, what it's doing to our lake. So it's something to really consider before you let this go in. We had a lot of things go wrong with our subdivision out of Flatwater 1, I guess it's called, and don't want to see the same thing happening again. We've already been messed with enough, and that. So please watch it. And the other thing is the tip. I don't see a tip from what I know of them going for a park that we just put millions of dollars into. A beautiful park that's going in. Why are we giving a tip for that? For pickleball, for volleyball, basketball, and all of that. Why? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Beth just brought up to my attention the fact that that's going to put our property on that east side. And there's going to be a lot of private property concerns. How are we going to keep people out of our property and on that property? Does the city really want that liability?
Open to the public and what's not open, what's not. So that's something that needs to be highly considered.
Anyone else? We will close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion to table the Flatwater Lakes Estate preliminary plat until the next meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? All right, number 14, library consideration and approval of interlocal agreement with Douglas County, Nebraska, Douglas County Libraries, and City of Baton. Katie or Jeff, somebody, can you talk about this? Okay. Perfect.
I'll go first, okay? Sure. We talked about this at the last meeting. There was one change I requested that the county attorney make to the contract. They have agreed to make that. It was a provision that would allow them to unilaterally require us to increase our insurance, the amount of our insurance coverage and our coverages. And we spoke, Christy and I both spoke with the people at LARM who carry our insurance, and I was not for that, and they were not for that, and the county attorney agreed, so we eliminated it. So the agreement is, as I suggested, we revise it. Sammy wasn't here last time. She can just give you some general idea of what we're doing here.
I think you all, sorry, Sammy Stewart, Library Director. I think you all got my memo from last meeting. Sorry, I was in Florida, but I'm glad to be here tonight to give some more context. So basically what this agreement does is it allows our citizens living in Valley to use any library in Douglas County and to make sure that folks in our SIDs that are nearby, like Timber Shores, have access to the library and that we capture some of that tax revenue. So, it's not a ton of money, but it's the equivalent of if a Valley resident had to pay the Omaha Library that $60 fee. Basically, that's as a wash, and we get that money back to us instead. It also kids from Waterloo, so we've got a lot of families from Waterloo that use our library. We've got a lot of Valley families that use the Waterloo Library. That makes it seamless back and forth, and we each can capture some of that revenue back. This is basically the same agreement we've had for, oh gosh, almost 20 years, I think. Very nominal changes, usually just little changes to wording as legal strategies change a little bit, I guess.
And the changes were all okay except for the one I discussed.
Yeah, basically the formula for how this is decided is every year we send the county the number of Valley residents who use our library, number, not names, the number of non-Valley residents who live in Douglas County who use our library, and then our total circulation for the year. That all gets plugged into some magic formula at the county and spits out how much money we receive annually from them. Happy to answer any other questions if anyone has any.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-10 to approve the interlocal agreement with Douglas County. I'm sorry, what was that?
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
All right, number 15, nuisance property update, right?
Lost my internet connection.
All right, so give you guys a little update. Maybe 2 months ago, I talked to you guys about the nuisance properties and the letters and how they were going to go. They were all sent. 2 have already been demoed, actually. One is actually being fixed. It was on a commercial property, so it was able to be fixed. 2 have extensions. Both extensions are to demo them, just waiting to get contractors together. 2 have gotten lawyers involved, so that's now with our attorneys. And then there are 2 that we still haven't heard anything on, so Andrea and I have been working on a follow-up letter from the city attorney, essentially stating, here's the first letter attached to it as Exhibit A, here's the signature of you getting it by a certified mail. The city's going to start soliciting bids to remove the nuisance property, in which case a lien will then be put in against the property for said fix, and then it'll make its way back to you guys for the lien. So we're making progress. So there's two down already, and 1, 2, 3 extension requests that are just trying to see if they can either work with the fire department or get their own removed or their own demo family or demo. Now I can contract. That's the word I'm looking for. It's been a long day. So that's where we're at. You guys have any questions or? Okay.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.
All right, number 16, pool update. Cameron?
Mayor Grove and City of Valley Council members, just want to provide an update on the current state of the pool. The contractor started the repair work on the swimming pool the week of May 19th after approved by the council. On May 13th, the contractor completed the concrete removal and the pool perimeter and excavated to the existing drain return supply lines. After the contractor had the concrete extracted and was starting to work on the pipage, he noticed that the ladders, diving boards, handrails, lights, and filter motor were not grounded to prevent electrical shock, which triggered the electrical permit being pulled. The Douglas County electrical inspector conducted a site visit to the swimming pool on Friday, May 30th, along with myself, building inspector, and the city engineer. And upon further inspection, the steel within the concrete wall and floor needed to be connected to a bonding grid to ensure all conductive parts are at the same potential to prevent shock or any other hazard or continuous conductive structure. So with that, the inspector stated that the concrete pool will not pass inspections. If you have any questions about the technical aspects of it, Roman and Greg can kind of elaborate more on that. But from my standpoint, what I wanted to make sure was articulated was what triggered the electrical inspector was the general contractor. The general contractor professionally was not able to address that issue, so he had the electrical inspector come out. His findings were pretty much, we looked at options for providing a lining to the pool to potentially ground it. The reason why you didn't have this in your packet earlier was because we were waiting on a final statement from the Douglas County electrical. And so his final recommendation that, it won't pass an electrical inspection. The drain from the kiddie pool to the main pool would need to be replaced. The drain from the main pool to the filter would need to be replaced. And both pipes failed to pass an air and test inspection, indicating that they are unable to maintain pressure and leak. So that's the whole problem in a nutshell. So, long story short is, it can't be repaired. Greg and Room can address any of the technical questions.
I have a question regarding the email that you sent out to us yesterday. I noticed that it was only addressed to Jake, Melanie, and myself, and Cindy and Andrea were copied. Why was not John Batcher or Jeff Farnham on that?
I left John off by mistake, and Andrea was on there, so that covered having city legal on it.
So John, you didn't know anything about this?
No, I got it. I don't know what time you got yours, but I did receive it.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I got questions.
Sure.
Did you apply for the permit, Greg? Electrical permit? Who does that?
So it was basically the contractor noticed that everything wasn't grounded, so they put an inquiry to me about what can we do to do this, and that's when we said, we talked with building and zoning department, who has the agreement with Douglas County, to say, hey, let's talk to the inspector to find out what we can do to mitigate this issue to provide the life safety of the pool structure. And that's what precipitated the meeting.
So I'm trying to understand the issue is that in the letter is the bonding. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So grounding needs to be done to all steel structures within the walls of the pool.
I'll just caveat that I am not an electrical engineer. So, but yes, basically everything has to be grounded together to create a harmonious network for the bonding of it. And as part of that, with any steel metals within 3 feet of the pool has to be connected to that bonding grid itself. Okay. And so the electrical inspector, Douglas County, basically said they can't physically see the condition of the metal within the concrete walls and would not approve any type of visual inspection.
Like condition as far as how many's in there, are they connected? Right.
Probably more condition, because there's an ability to do some X-ray type stuff on concrete to find out where the bars are, but it's more of the condition or the integrity of those bars. Because from after the excavation was done, some of the ends were already rusted off, and of course this is a 1969 pool. So obviously the metal has degraded over the last 50 plus years.
Yeah, I stopped up there today, and I know what you're talking about. There's some ends that are like this, that are rusted. I'm trying to, would an X-ray determine the structure of it and how sound the metal is if we did the X-ray?
I don't have a lot of expertise in that. What I know is that the X-ray of like concrete and floors, it will pick up where the steel is and dimensions of it, but it doesn't show anything related to the condition of the metal.
Has the pool ever been bonded before? In any way?
We found, or the contractor, I should say, found 3 or 4 wires sticking out, so there could have been some bonding, but some of the wires have been either rusted off, so you have no idea what really was done. And the city does not have any records of the original pool drawings other than 2 pages, which are not related to anything related to electrical apparatuses.
So was the bonding ever brought up before it was brought to council for repair with anybody in the city?
No.
Nobody knew about the new bonding code for pools.
I don't think it's actually new. Do you know when bonding would have come in? I don't think it's actually new as in like 2023 code. It's more of nobody knew what the condition of underneath the pool deck was until it was removed.
So this bonding code, I've heard, I haven't read the code,
Sure.
but it's a code that's being applied to the pool. Does that apply for residential pools as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so somebody had to know about it
Well,
in the city,
it's
about this code.
We never had to remove this amount of concrete.
We don't do residential pool inspections, right? The county does them.
the county does it right.
The drainage is fully exposed, and so that's probably why they were able to see it this time and not the other time where we just did patchwork to it. So that's, to answer your question, and on a residential pool, Ruben has kind of explained to me that, you know, they have a checklist of things they have to submit to get their, you know, usage permit, stuff like that. And sometimes the contractor will give it to them and they won't turn it in, they'll still use it. But when it comes to life safety, no license, you know, certifier is going to put their license on the line just to just make ends meet or fix an issue. So
Was it brought up in the bid by the contractors?
So I can speak a little bit on it about why it wasn't brought up in the past before. So the triggering event for an electrical permit to be pulled is like replacement or repair of electrical and infrastructure, right? I've never received an electrical permit before for the pool, except right now. All of the work that has been done on the pool has been like small sections of like replacing a piece of piping, which wouldn't have theoretically triggered a bonding inspection because they weren't really exposing that much of the pool. So I don't know if that answers your question of like why it didn't get caught before. It's just not enough work or electrical work was done. Usually the code triggers when said inspection is required. And if they weren't in the past disturbing anything with bonding or anything with electrical, then it just wouldn't have been called in. There would have been no inspection, electrical inspection specifically. So I can at least speak to that part.
I would like to know if an X-ray can determine the structure.
It can. I talked with the electrical engineer on Friday, electrical inspector on Friday. I asked him that because that was my thinking too. I was like, hey, let's X-ray it. He said essentially the only thing I would accept an X-ray is if the X-ray showed that there was no metal in there. Which, how do you build those sidewalls without rebar and the floor without rebar? At least some sort of mat. The X-ray, again, I was thinking the same thing, Jake. The X-ray cannot confirm that when you've got your rebar moving each way, when they cross and they wire time together, there's no way to prove in the X-ray if those are still touching. If that rebar's degraded 10 to 20% on each side, that could be that connecting. I asked him point blank, and he said he wouldn't pass based on X-ray if there was. If for whatever miracle there's no rebar in there, again, I find that exceptionally hard to believe. Just because you've got all that wall pressure on the side because they drain that pool every year. Then theoretically, but I'm willing to bet they're stealing that concrete.
So the electrical inspector said he will not pass this rigor, nothing.
Correct.
100%.
And again, unless this small, tiny, minuscule chance that there's no rebar in that entire pool, which I think is on the deck, yes. But the pool itself, again, I would almost be willing to bet 100% that there's rebar in that pool because there's no way they could have made it structurally sound even back in 72 or 68 to hold that pressure when the pool was empty is my assumption. I'm not an engineer, but yeah.
Okay. Does the city have any drawings of the pool?
Mm-hmm.
They do?
Yeah.
Does it show the rebar walls?
No, it's very typical of something that was built in the early 70s. It's all hand drawn, and the only 2 pages I have found, I don't believe they show anything to do with electrical, minus maybe a single red line with the equipment. potentially.
Would I be able to see this?
Yeah, I can send them to you. They're pretty hard to read. You might want to see them in person if I have them in person.
Okay.
I've got them scanned in, but it depends what your PDF viewer is.
I'd like to see them too.
Zoom in and yeah, I can send them to Cameron.
Well, I often love it, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't send it to me.
Okay, I can show you my computer. If you really need to, it's really faded. I mean, I scanned them probably 3 different times.
That pool was built in what, 1970?
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, I thought somewhere between 68 and 70.
Something like. I think the date is on there, but the
I
paper.
started at 68 or 69, but he said 70.
The paper's really yellowed and it's all faded out. I mean, something like that is hard to.
You know, I found something very interesting today. I had a little spare time. I was looking at Nebraska history. They have a Facebook page. And the town of Crescent, Nebraska has a pool that is 105 years old with absolutely no problems. A town of 140 people. I would really like to find out how they manage that pool.
My guess is they haven't done any work to trigger an electrical inspection because I mean, that is not on it.
Well, they haven't had any issues with the pool. That's what I'm getting at. We have issues every year. So what are they doing that's so differently?
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I don't know. I don't do the maintenance.
We have different soil and we're gonna flood too, like some of that.
Well, I need to find out where this
Yeah, take a day trip, figure it out. Do it.
Well,
They're the only town in
Right, the whole
Nebraska,
state.
you know, good for them.
I was just impressed by it. I
Yeah.
had pictures of it. It looked beautiful. The only thing they did this year was they painted it for the first time, they said, in 50 years.
When you saw from the invoice, we had every intention of painting it. It was moving forward. But at this point, where it's not about having it or not having it, it's about finding options of having it there and rebuild it, but it's going to be a new build no matter where it's at. So if the council's open, I'd love to explore options to rebuild at the current place or explore any other options. But at the end of the day, it'll be your decision which direction we go. But I want to make sure price, all that is in front of you before.
I would like for you to explore all options, but also when you present this to us, I would like to have a representative from the pool company that is putting in a bid or a price for it. And so if we have questions, I want a representative from their company here too.
We haven't picked one. I mean, we have JEO on contract with the pool stuff, but other than that, we'd have to get an RFP and pick a contractor before that. So.
Is there any chance for any public comment?
Not right now, sorry, Roger.
There's a lot of misinformation going around in here.
So we can have JEO if you're comfortable with them, but outside of that, we have to have a new RFP and contract. JEO, Linda.
Let me think about that. Go ahead, Melanie.
I definitely am open to the fact of getting options, and I mean multiple options in a budget, not one that touches our baseball field inside of our park. I think there's other options that I'm not for, but I mean, you have to use the space that you have, so maybe look at maybe getting rid of the T-ball field, which means also talking to the YMCA, creating a fourplex over there. I want to see all options. I want to see a budget. I think it's absolutely inappropriate that for years, this has nothing to do with you because you haven't even been here for a full year, that this has been an issue on an annual basis, and we have individuals here that have discussed it year after year after year, and it should have been something that proactively was done. And we hear that it takes 2 to 3 years to build a pool, and we're out of the pool this year. It's important to some, but probably not to all. But as a mother in this community, you're losing an entire childhood experience of 4 years with no time out in the community with your friends. So it's unacceptable. It's not your fault, Cameron, by any means. I need this to be put together fast so that we can talk to our constituents and get their feedback on it and get the ball rolling.
No, I would just like a point of clarification, because it's pretty obvious that you're trying to blame me for that, but just to note, I've had comments back on the you've been on council, you guys didn't want to approve anything new other than the annual thing, so if we're gonna point fingers, the entire city's there, like, we don't need to do that and make those kind of comments, so,
I would
we can,
caution you in making any assumptions.
let's do that. So, Cameron, you know what you need to do moving forward.
And I'll also offer, throughout this process, it's just been a 30-day, I stand in front of you, report what I have. Throughout the next 30 days, the communication level with everyone involved is going to be leveled up. But with that being said, I need some response back to make sure I'm going in the right direction. And when we get here next month, it's not new to everyone. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
Ruth, building and zoning update, anything else?
Yes. Just give you guys a quick update. 38 permits last month, actually kind of slow. 5 new homes, 118 total inspections I did last month. And we are looking for a new administrative assistant for building and zoning. So anyone who's out there looking for a job and wants to work with me, so other than that, that's all I got for building and zoning. So yeah.
City administrator, any additional updates, Cameron?
Just wanted to inform council and the community, we were all bludgeoned with the sirens during the monthly testing day of the sirens. And so just wanted to give an update on where that's at. So what happened was when the sirens went off, the age of it, the metal conduit seized and they weren't able to turn it off. So that's why we sat here for 45 minutes having to listen to it. But I'll assure you that they ordered parts from Kansas City that they should have repairs done within this week or next on that siren. But in further investigation of it, we found that siren 109 at Flatwater was struck by lightning a while back, and they're rebuilding the motor for it. But with that being said, I did make sure that I have a map to make sure we have adequate coverage in the event of a severe weather incident. So we'll still have our sirens, we'll still have the emergency response text that everyone gets, and then well, it's that word of mouth. I'm standing outside and screaming or something, so you'll get it. But that was something that I felt that was very important to get out in front of everybody, just so you were aware of it. Lastly, for me, we had a great turnout at the community cleanup. I got to meet a lot of you, lift your couches, and tell the compliments about how strong I am as I lift the refrigerator. But it was a great turnout, and everyone was friendly. Next year, hopefully, we won't have as many mattresses. But anyway, that's it for me. Feel free to reach out. I'm in the office. I love to chat with you guys. So, thank you.
Good evening, my dear people service, 207 East Congress Street. Before I get started, I want to introduce my assistant region manager. He's going to stand up now. The reason I brought him is obviously so that he can get more involved with the council side of it. In case I'm not here, he'll be able to represent people service at this level. So, Jeremy Knapp is his name, from North Bend. He's got all the credentials, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Thank you. You can do this, as a matter of fact. I'll go ahead and leave. So, first off, we'll go ahead and just get all this over with. First off, obviously, last month was a really bad month for us, for my operators as well, with the discarded water that happened. It was the worst. I've been here 50 years. I mean, you know, it's the worst that I've ever seen it. We've also been here for a long time. We obviously flushed the entire town. We spent 2 days. We flushed the first day until we were below our level of fire protection, so we stopped, and then waited till the next day to finish everything out. So we kept the public protected.
You're saying you flushed every fire hydrant?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, you just said everywhere in town.
Everywhere in town we flushed. Yes, not every fire hydrant, but everywhere in town.
because we need 2 feet per second minimum to flush the mains to be able to remove all of that stuff, right? So we strategically do that so that we're not wasting water, number one, and number two, we're getting the most out of it. So we might skip a block. We might skip 2 blocks depending on the size of the main, depending on the size of the fire hydrant. We just don't go open hydrants randomly. We actually start from the center and work our way out so we take the mess with us.
Well, the fire hydrant down on Southwest Street was not flushed. Just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, Southwest Street, that one runs off a 4-inch, so it really do us no good anyway. Because that one comes off a 4-inch. You would think it'd come off a 14, but it doesn't. So, we were able to eliminate all the complaints within 2 days as far as what comes up to us. Just to talk about what that does, right? I mean, what that pressure does, because that was our first large demand of the year. As far as sprinklers being programmed and everybody starting using them, pools getting filled, that was our first large demand that first couple of weeks, and that moved that water. So I have here this little thing that shows some sediment in the water, right? I mean, this is common sense, but I just wanted to show it. So if I shake that up, it looks totally different now, right? So that's what happens in the mains when we fluctuate pressure so much, is that all the pressure in the main is holding everything up. Well, when we go below that pressure, because of that demand, then everything falls off the wall, and this is what we get. So I just wanted to show that to kind of demonstrate what actually happened during that time. What we are doing proactively to help mitigate this issue until major repairs can be done, or until major replacement can be done, we're looking at different ways to flush more in certain spots, and also manipulate some valves so that water doesn't move a certain way. Because in this case, rather kind of technical, but as the town grows, right, and we put things around town, water moves a different way now. It doesn't move the way it did 20 years ago. It all moves different directions. Well, then that moves those mains and disturbs those mains that were used to going one way for so many years. Now they go the other way. So we had to learn a whole new system because of how the water moves. So we're going to manipulate valves to not allow that to happen, so that when we do get disruptions, they're not being pulled to all of these big mains or smaller mains, so that we don't have a major disruption. Once again, we all know the condition of the old part of town. So we're trying to mitigate that by doing that so that we can flush more, and then we can isolate them so when there are problems, we know where to address them faster. And to point that out, up to date this month, we've had 1 call, and we went to that house, and our protocol is, so everybody's aware this is what's going to happen when we call. We take white buckets and we go to your outside spigot first. And we fill that white bucket up, because that's a contrast test. That tells us whether the water is actually clear or not, because it's white. So we can really tell if there's anything in the water. The one that we went to last week, we did this, the water was perfectly clear. So my employees, which they're not really supposed to do this because we're not plumbers, but anyway, we all want to help. They went in home and they found out that he had in-house filters that needed to be changed. And that was causing the problem in his house. The problem was not coming from the main. So every complaint is different. That's why I ask all of you to call when you have these complaints, because then we can address them. Plus, we're also documenting this so that we know where the problems are, so we can flush more in certain places or not. But you have to call a period. You have to do it the right way in order for us to be able to come help. So we are working proactively. Plus, we're working with the NDEE, the Nebraska Department of Energy and Environment, with rural water as well, trying to find funding, trying to find possibilities to help mitigate this until a major replacement can be done. So we're actively working on this, but this doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it doesn't happen in months, because there's so much red tape you got to go through with all of this. So that's with the discolored water last month. Any questions on that before I move on?
Can you say something?
I don't think so. You can talk to me afterwards. That's fine.
Call up here.
We'll talk
There's no
afterwards.
public comments right now. You guys can
We'll
talk
talk
afterwards.
afterwards. Any questions from you?
So the resident with the filter line?
Yes.
So was the filter just turning bad or something?
The filter was dirty, so, it was pushing all of the stuff in the filter into his house.
Okay,
Just like a dirty filter does.
okay. So how did the filter get dirty?
Probably from when we had our problem.
Okay.
I mean, it's obvious we had a problem, right? I mean, it's obvious that there was some water main, so probably from there.
Okay.
Any more?
I did have a question based on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
report that you gave us. When you're talking about how that water main break, like you lost count of how many times it breaks by Casey. What is the level of concern if you live over there and there is an emergency and needing the firefighters to use a hydrant?
There is a level of concern everywhere when we get into that kind of situation, right? The fire department is well aware of that situation. They have alternate plans already in place. I'm in communication with our fire chief all the time. They have a map of our system. We have sat down and actually talked about our system. And when we have emergencies, they are calling me and we are working through what is the best way to get them water. So we have plans in place already to where we can use that, but when it becomes enormous, then we're taking their tanker truck and we're going over to a 12-inch main and we're filling it up. All of this has already been discussed. I mean, our fire department is fabulous. They are just unbelievable.
We
So
did that house burning down there in Spruce, so how did we manage that? Just to make, I'm just curious.
they brought water in.
They brought water in.
Yep.
Okay. All right. If we would have used the hydrant, do you think we would have had another water main break?
Boy, you put me on the spot every single day. I can't answer that, but I will say that the last time a hydrant was used there illegally, they did water hammer and it did break. Because there are different kinds of water main breaks too, right? There isn't just the structural one. If somebody illegally tags our hydrant, or even fire departments, if they tag a hydrant and they shut that valve fast, we're gonna blow a hole in the main. I mean, so there's water hammer and then there's stress cracks. So there's two different kinds, right? So, a couple of them water mains down there were water hammer. They were not stress cracks, right? Obviously, we all know that there's a problem there. We all know that the older, that the mains are old, and we just try to mitigate that the best that we can. And the fire department is fabulous on having a plan.
I have a couple of questions. This might include Cameron. I just try to do some of my own education on like what we can do as a community. Have you reached out to it's like the Nebraska Department of Environmental Quality. There's also Nebraska Rural Water Association. There's the USDA Rural Development Office, and there's a Clean Water State Revolving Fund. And there's also the consult with the civil, like we can consult with our civil engineer and our water infrastructure specialist. But I know there's a lot of grants, and based upon my reading, and I could be wrong, but these grants can cover up to 75% of our costs to fix some of these pipes, but then we would have to finance the 25%. But I just want to know, have we looked at any of that, where we're at with that?
We're in the process of that now.
Okay, perfect.
Because those grants all have expiration dates or application dates and when you can do it and when you can't, because they're earmarked every single year or federal budget. I'm not much of an accountant, so you're really getting me off guard here, but we are currently looking into all of that, and we are working with the Department of Energy and Environment, which is basically the NDEQ, and now it's NDEE. They change their names all the time, but we're working with them. We're working with Rural Water. We're working with the grants. Yeah, we're currently doing all of that.
And I understand that grant writing is kind of it's a specialty, so do we have the right assistance that we need to get that done appropriately? Do you need any other assistance to get that done?
We wrote for the Congressman's grant, the Community Block Grant Dollar Grant, and did fairly well there, but fingers still crossed. We met with NDE. They have some options that we could potentially look into.
We also get assistance from JEO on all of our grant writing, so we have somebody who specializes in that as their job.
And lastly, doing these grants, you have to have a plan in place. And up to this point, we've had plans on how to just mitigate the situation. Now we need to get a plan on how to fix it long term. And so everybody's in agreement with that. It's just, we have to get that lined up. So
You already submitted the one, didn't you report last month or the month before that you'd already submitted the federal one?
yes,
And a lot of them grants you don't qualify for either, so you have to make sure, first you have to go for the one that you qualify for.
Yeah, the second class city ones.
Yeah, so
Normally, how long does it take to get feedback, do you think? What's the turnaround time? Did they tell you?
the federal one, it takes about 6 months to a year to hear something back. But what I can say is the congressman gets a bunch of applications, and then they pare it down to a handful that they send to Washington to be approved. Our grant wasn't included in that group, so we made it up the initial selection.
Our grant was included, you said?
It wasn't included, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It made it to the next round, in other words.
Thank you for your.
Fingers crossed.
We just have to see if it gets there, right? Any more on that issue before I move on? No? Sure, going once.
See you next month.
Right. The good thing is about meters, we are at 87.9% of the meters now. We continue to do that. We are almost to a point to where we're having difficulty getting hold of people. So we are giving them notices and we are shutting their water off if they're not going to let us in their house to fix their water meter. We have to get to this point now because we are to a point to where we're at that level. To where we've fixed everyone that'll let us in their house, and now we're just going through that, doing the door hanger, doing the letter, but then you're not going to have any water until we can fix your meter. We're basically at that point. So we're extremely successful on that. Kendra and the boys are just doing a fabulous job. Just a wonderful job. We did have another water main break out by Casey's last month. That was on that 4-inch line. I think it was 4-inch, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 4-inch. Because that's all 4-inch over there. But and obviously it was fixed right away, and tried to get Casey's back up to service as fast as we possibly can. With all of this being said, the other water main break was over on Meg Street. We had a complaint of water coming out of the sewer line, out of the manhole, and this is kind of odd, right? So after investigating it, we found a bunch of what we assumed at that point to be groundwater coming in, and then just backing everything up as that lift station Country Air starts, it pushes it in there, that backs up, it comes out the manhole. After investigating it further, we found that we had rural water, because we use them all the time. Anyway, we had them come over and they did a listing, and we found that the 12-inch main just a little ways away was actually leaking, and it was going into the sewer. So obviously we have to shut that off because we pay for our stuff to go to Fremont, right? So shut that stuff off. And then we dug it up and found that there was a, is it confirmed to be Cox yet? I don't know, so I don't want to get sued here. But there's a fiber line that runs right along with it, that when they bored, they happened just to go right along our water main and hit the water main. We don't know how long ago that this was. We're still looking into that, but that eventually popped. So in this whole of fixing the manhole, we also found there was a huge void underneath the road that was completely unsafe for people to drive on, so we had to block that road off so that we could fill that void and pour the concrete back on. So all of that happened too. Any questions about that?
No, but that does remind me, Cameron, you may want to talk to maintenance. I think we still have detour signs down there in Country Air 2 and Southwest Street. We don't need it anymore, please. Gravel road kicked up a lot of dust.
Currently, our plant is operating as it's supposed to. Iron manganese down low. We are down on usage right now because of the rain. Hopefully that continues. I'm hoping it's also with our odd and evens, but we've had rain, so that kind of helps a lot as far as that. But down to about 1.2 million nowadays compared to 2. So that's helping us obviously maintain the plant and the pressure in the system. Also, we passed all of our monthly coliform and E. coli tests in the system, so the water has been once again proven safe for the month according to EPA standards. It's kind of my report.
Is that tested at the facility?
No, so with our sampling program, which is all required by the NDEE, which is required by the EPA, we have 3 zones in town. Okay, if you just take our town and just put it into 3 zones, each zone has 5 sites. And we have to alternate, and those sites have to be spread out in that zone to represent the entire zone, right? And then each month we have to rotate from site to site to site. So every site's visited every 5 months. And we have to do 3 of those in town. So, and we collect those and submit them to the state, they analyze it, and they come back with 0, 0. So,
and how do you get those samples?
we go to homes and take them. because obviously it's public water, right? So we have to go to homes and take them. Yeah. And all this is pre-approved by the state. We have to submit a plan and show them where we're taking them from so they can make sure that the whole area is represented. We can't do 5 houses in a row, right? We have to do random houses, so, or businesses, whatever it is.
And can you remind me really quick, what's the anticipated completion date of the new water plant?
I hope tomorrow. No, I believe spring of 25. I'm sorry, 26.
I know what he meant.
Spring of 26. I don't know what day it is. But honestly, no. Yeah, that. I mean, it's going well. Everything's on pace. Walls are going up, so we have concrete. So, am I taking your thunder? Make sure you take your name too.
All right, well, good segue into city engineer, Craig.
Good segue, Miss Melanie. Item 8, it is the water treatment plant expansion. Tonight we do have progress note number 5, $180,729. As Mike said, the project is moving along fairly well. You actually, if you drive by on Center Street, 270th, whatever you want to call it, you can actually start to see some walls coming out of the ground. Really globally, hopefully by the end of summer, you will see more of a complete structure as the goal by the contractor. You just alluded to progress. We had just received a claim, just a request like the contractor for an adjustment for contract price and contract time. We just got that last week, so I was actually on vacation, and the other guys in the office, I said we haven't had enough time to review that, so we did not present that here tonight, so that will be coming in July. But currently they're under contract for a March 1st substantial completion, which means the plant is functional, not necessarily done, and then final completion by May 1, 26. So, but there will be, I know they've requested additional time that we will present to you guys next month. So anything tonight would just be speculating on what that actually request. I know the request is, but what would be brought forward to you. So then tonight, like I said, we have contract pay up number 5 that takes us to 90% completed. So they have a long ways to go value wise, but really a lot of these pieces are starting to come together to where they're going to be able to have multiple crews. They already have multiple crews, but just not working on top of each other. They have walls going up, and they're actually talking about starting with the first floor here in the next about 10 days. Start working on that and getting forms and stuff like that set up. So I'm really excited to see that progress. So having reviewed that, we do recommend approval to Erickson Construction and their pay app number 5.
Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-16 to approve contractor's application for payment number 5 from Erickson Construction in the amount of $180,729.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Can I ask you a question on that?
Absolutely.
That pipe there, that's for dewatering, right?
The black pipe?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Where does it dump into at?
It's 2 drainage way. No, I mean it's I think it's 3/8 of a mile west of West Street. Somebody can help me with that. Whose ground is that? Yeah, I think it's discharging with their big point on.
They're dumping on Rotella's land?
Just west of Country Air, phase 2. Item B, Belhaven lift stations and Junior Woods lift station. This one's been on the agenda for a long time, but we're here to wrap this up tonight. Actually, before I start, I do just want to acknowledge I have a bad typo on this. Is that when I sent this in to Christie last week, this is change order number 3 for Ferber Construction. It's an increase amount of $51,000. And I just missed the tab here. Sorry about that. $51,271.
Not an increase.
It's an increase, correct.
Oh, man.
With the
I
previous,
was all excited.
the previous change order was a negative $56,000 during some other engineering. This basically is for the dewatering of the 2 left pit or valve pits that we had to do for that project. So that's what the additional cost is for. So say that.
51,271.37.
Yeah, it's in the packet, correct, Jake? It was just like I pulled the wrong line when I sent it in. So
I would entertain a motion to approve change order number 3 from Verba Construction for an increase in the amount of $51,271.37.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
correspondingly, we do have their final payout for $164,866.94. And that's their final payment for those projects.
Alright, entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-17 to approve contractor's application for payment number 4 from Verba Construction in the amount of $164,866.97.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Item C, sewer, water, and storm sewer improvements for United Utilities and Excavation. This basically is contractor's payment application number 1. This is really for stored materials on the site. They have been working on their first bore there at the truck entrance to 3M there on MIGS. And so this is just, again, progress for stored materials, and then we'll see a lot more activity in the next month. Having reviewed that, we do recommend approval of payout number 1.
Just for a point of clarification before we get this is something that's a reimbursable expense, right? Just to
Correct.
clarify,
Yes.
so we are not paying, we are paying and then we're getting reimbursed.
Correct. There's an escrow account already set up, so it's really, we're drawing out of that. Yep.
Thank you.
Correct.
Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-18 to approve contractor's application for payment number 1 from United Utilities and Excavation in the amount of $115,499.31.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Sorry about that, yeah.
Yep. Item D, non-Lakes business board correspondingly, this is a little concrete doing the sewer project. They've submitted also in pay application number 1, that's $28,845. That's basically for stored materials as well. That's just on the east side of 264th and near the Big Street lift station. Having reviewed that, we do recommend approval. And similarly to the Valley Lakes project, Valley Landing project, this is 100% reimbursable with the escrow account as well.
Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-19 for the contractor's application for payment number 1 from NL Concrete in the amount of $28,845.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Item E, water main replacements. This is a project we talked about last month. It's park and plat with the concrete work. We did put out a package to replace those water mains. We did receive 5 bids. Verba Construction was a little bit of $213,911.75. Those underneath our estimate of about $260,000. And so with that, this is an immediate start. As in, it'll start within the next month and get done by August 1st is the contract date. So that way, this concrete work that we had planned for this fiscal year still gets completed by the September timeframe for the fiscal year. So, having reviewed the bids, we do recommend that the award of the contract to Verba Construction and their bid amount.
Do you have a copy of those? They're not in the packet. I don't have any of the bids.
I can get it out to you, absolutely. I was actually working remotely last week. I was on vacation, and it's a couple of emails to Christy were not going through, so I had to send them 3 times. So my technology's fun, but we can get that. But we do have the 5 bids.
Okay, so what is the amount?
$213,911.75.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to award the contract to do the water main replacement on Park and Flat Streets to Verba Construction, the amount of $213,911.75.
I do have some questions, if you don't mind referring to that location. I've spoken to some of the residents that live there, and there's one specifically that's on the corner. Kind of talked with Vern about this, and I need to ask you, because you're kind of the street guy here. Apparently there wasn't a permit pulled at a home that the gentleman purchased a year ago, so it's not his fault. Someone else did it, and it slipped through the cracks. And with how far you're going to be widening that road, I've been looking for those stakes to be put out. Do you know when they're going to show where the property line is? Because there's a huge safety concern, and I see what's going on. When I look at the road down the street and I look at it going towards the park, clearly this is a section that's smaller and it needs to be widened.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, it looks like if it's going to move to get wider, it's going to go to the east. And it's going to get if one person just oops or distracted, he's taking out that guy's whole house, on the side. And does he have a parking lot or a driveway?
Can I just request that we finish this one that's about the water main replacement, and then we can go into the paving pieces of it? This one was about the water main replacement. Can we finish? Yeah, can can we finish this?
yeah.
one? Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to award the construction contract to River Construction for water main replacement on Park and Flat Streets in the amount of $213,911.75.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? Thank you.
Item F, Ms. Melanie, we will come back to that. Item F in the swimming pool, we just talked about all that here. One of those previous items tonight, though, we do have Lucy Plumbing's pay application number 1 for the amount of $52,000. That was for the work completed. And just to note, I had given them basically a soft stop work there about last week after we had had all this correspondence with the electrical group. And basically said we would report back to them here after the council meeting. So, but again, this is their progress payment of $52,000. We do recommend approval of that.
Entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2025-20, contractor's application for payment number 1 from WC Plumbing in the amount of $52,000.
Sorry, I have a question on that too.
Sure.
So now we're at a moment where we're stopped the bus, don't do anything, because obviously you don't want, what are we gonna do now that it's all opened up? Do we just leave it the way that it is until we figure out more?
We got
Do
to
we
work on it.
close it up?
I think basically when I talked to them on Monday the 2nd, is they were working that day to kind of get to a good stopping point, if that makes sense. And then we didn't know where this discussion was going to go, so now we're going to discuss what to do. My hunch is we'll put all the sand back in there so that there isn't a hazard, if you will. Obviously, there is a pool still right next to it, but basically make it so it's more traversable around the pool perimeter itself, and then call it, and then bring us down.
All right, so I entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-20. Consideration and action to approve contractor's application for payment number 1 from WC Plumbing in the amount of $52,000.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Item G is the park and plat paving improvements. Basically, this is, we have approved the change order right away when we awarded this last month for all of the spot repairs in throughout town for water main breaks, whatever breaks or occurrences that have occurred over the winter. So to the T, construction did all those repairs over the last couple of weeks. And they also did the ones here, a couple of the ones here recently too, on MIGs. So this is just a progress payment through June 4th. And that's the amount of $29,421. And then subsequently, we'll have the final one in July, final one of the next one. That will take care of all of the work that they've just done here in the last couple of weeks. So having reviewed that, we do recommend approval. And Ms. Melly, if you want to talk about the specific location of the street stuff, I can get back with you or send me an email, whatever.
Let's do this one first, and then we can do that. So let's entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-21. Action to approve contractor's application for payment number 1 in the amount of $29,421 from To the T Construction.
So moved.
I have a question regarding this. Normally, when a road is getting paved, the homeowners have to absorb some of the cost, correct? We did that with Valley Street. We did that with Valley Shores. I know we didn't do it with Condon Street over by the fire department, but that's because the city screwed up many, many, many years ago.
Are you talking about the paving or the filling in the holes?
The paving.
Okay, this is the filling in the holes. Can we finish? We have
No,
a motion and a second.
All right.
Okay, motion and a second. Vote please.
Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Whatever that.
I think Jake made it.
Yeah, Jake made it, and I think Melanie seconded. Okay.
Correct.
Vote
Thank
please. All in favor. Okay, now let's talk about the gravel roads.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry about that.
Okay, carry on.
So I want to know, are any of the homeowners absorbing any of the costs? What do you call that?
That's the street assessments, basically.
Yes, okay, there you go.
Ms. Lewis, basically the project was discussed last August, and it was just submitted with the former public works director. It was paving these to get rid of the motor grader is the kind of the caveat.
Wait, what?
The council voted at the time.
Yeah.
The city would pay for it. You were in the council at the time. So no, the homeowners aren't paying.
Well,
That's not what the council
I
decided.
probably voted no on it, and that's why I didn't remember it.
No, I mean, you voted that the people weren't paying for it. You voted
Okay.
to go with
Well,
it.
I just want to make sure because, you're going to have to justify that to other homeowners.
I said that at the time. Did I not? I said we were
I
setting a
don't remember
precedent.
all that.
But neither here nor there.
You're on track. Is basically This was, it was a budgeted project that the city was paying at 100%.
You answered the question.
There was no street improvement district for that. Yep.
So I went out there and I measured. Am I correct? It's going to extend on the east side and not on the west side of the street? Because you have, light poles on the west side.
Right, there's overhead power, right?
How far away does the structure of the home have to be away from the road?
Well, basically, the existing setback, or the setbacks at the time those houses were built were not the same setbacks as we have now, so it's kind of like a midpoint. But basically, if you recall, we talked about last month, is, you can fact check me, I might be a little off, is, the existing rock's like 20 to 22 feet wide, probably in that range. It meanders because it's rock. Basically, we fit in there a 24-foot road, which is the minimum state standards, and that's what we're doing. And that does not meet city standards. That's why we had the motion to approve that last month, I guess. I think that was right. And so the widening is basically the existing right of way, and a lot of that is either 27 or 30 feet wide. So we're fitting the 24-foot wide street within that existing right of way, so we don't have to acquire any type of property from all of those residents. And then, of course, yeah, we're respecting the overhead power poles along the west side because there is no other location for them to move those to.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm pulling at my measurements.
Sure.
Greg, did you have title work done on the right away?
We just pulled plats on all that, and we found head pins and stuff like that.
So it's dedicated on the plat.
Great, yeah, correct. Yeah. A lot of this was like the 1950s type stuff, so it's older stuff.
I don't know that. I think it was an 18 feet wide. Okay, I just want to make sure that
Are you talking on Park or Plat, by the way?
it's on Park.
Okay.
It's on the corner of Park. It's like pretty much where the gravel road ends. And then I think it goes right to Whittingham.
On the south end then? Whittingham's concrete on the south end that we're tying into,
Yeah,
correct?
so I think it's like, it's basically I think it's Park and Whittingham. Am I correct? Okay, so it's like the northeast corner.
Okay.
Property. And, I just want to know what kind of options we could have for someone like that. Obviously, this is a situation that the city's old, and
Yeah.
do we give them funds to get like a retaining wall? Like, what do we do to, I mean, I think their driveway is gonna be short. I don't even think he's gonna have a driveway that would fit even a compact car. I mean, I don't know, what options do we have that we can offer someone in this scenario? I know this is a one-off,
Sure.
but I just don't know what we can do.
How about I look into that and let you know? Because I can't pull it up. This computer just died.
I have pictures, so I just, you say he's done.
I guess we gotta charge it before the meeting. So. I can definitely look into that. Is that the only spot you have?
That is the one property that concerns me the most. It's a little tight.
Holly will look into that. Thank you.
City attorney?
Jeff Horn, City Attorney. Been talking about Glass Lake for the last couple of months. The planning board did recommend approval, subject to, I think, approval of an interlocal agreement and the conditions in the interlocal agreement. That agreement was presented to us, and it still needs some work. We're trying to get the next step so that we go to the county board. We're dealing with the same deputy county attorney on the agreement. And I've asked the gal at Douglas County Planning when the board meeting will be, and we don't know yet. I think it depends on the agreement. Andrea, do you have anything else on that? You were at that last meeting. Did I describe that accurately? Yeah. Okay. So we're waiting on that, and I obviously suspect that the county board will recommend approval of ceding the jurisdiction subject to the interlocal agreement. Greg will be involved in that. There's a bunch of engineering things in there. I think you've looked at it on a preliminary basis, but we'll wait until the agreement's farther along and we'll all take a look at it and hopefully get it over the finish line. Greg and I have worked on and finalized a draft of a right-of-way agreement for a fiber optic cable from DC West School to the athletic field in public right-of-way. And that agreement has been submitted to DC West for review. review. We'll probably talk about it again at the next meeting in July. I anticipate that there won't be any problem with it and that we'll proceed. You've been talking with Zach Fergus, the landscape guy for LAMP that does all that, and you guys are on the same page, aren't you, pretty much? So, yeah, it's all underground. So, that is one of the things we've been working on. I've been working on some zoning compliance matters, other things that we've talked about here tonight, Champion Shores and the TIF stuff that's going on with the TIF meeting. And that's it. Andrea, do you have anything to add? Any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, mayor's report. We did hire a deputy clerk. He started yesterday. So Jonathan, if you want to wave, Jonathan back there is the new deputy clerk. We're excited about that. Thank you, Jonathan. Our public works director position is posted again. We had the park grand opening last Thursday. It was probably 20 people attended. We cut the ribbon, but the phase 1 is all open, and I've seen lots of people use the basketball court, which is very exciting. I know Mike talked on it a little bit, but we did implement water restrictions to be able to better control the flow of water and prevent discolored water. So if you live in an odd numbered house, you water on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you live in an even numbered house, you water Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So everybody gets one weekend day. And then upcoming items. Valley Days planning meeting next Tuesday at 6, planning commission next Tuesday at 4:30, and then the library bike rodeo July 9th from 9 to 12. Any questions? Oh crap, sorry, I forgot. The one thing in my other thing in the mayor's report, it is attached in your packet there, and we received a letter of appreciation from Waterloo Police Department for Officer Jeff Woolman and his support in a shooting that they had in Waterloo. He took command of the scene and did a really good job, so they sent us a letter of appreciation for Officer Woolman. So that is in your packet too. Sorry, I forgot that one. Any questions for me?
Thank you very much. Is that you? Is that you?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm pretty removed.
Oh,
Would entertain a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second. Vote please. All in favor?
I think Tim would like that. I think Tim. He can't get up at 1 o'clock.
No, you're not, Darren. How come?
You have your water meter.